taco combos are incredible, man. Well, our biker Jim's hot dogs are incredible.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a special Linners and Wosers episode. Yeah, this is very special. I'm joined here in person, actually, with my friend Nick Rosser. How are you, Nick?
I'm good today. It's good to see you in my office / second bedroom where all the magic happens on this side.
And this wall of scars that Nick just has, just regarding northern Colorado here. You'll see rain, USLW, a lot of Hailstorm, Storm Chasers, supporters group. There's even Colorado Switchbacks over at the end there. But not only is this a special episode because we're doing it in person, but we're doing this in person because we have a special guest joining us here to discuss all things regarding Northern Colorado Hailstorm FC and more. And ladies and gentlemen, Nick and I did do a NoCo January 2024 update. You can go ahead and check out on YouTube. We dove into the 11 players that have been re-signed and announced, our expectations, and what the format of the League's One Cup looks like, and more juicy stuff. But without further ado, I want to go ahead and introduce our special guest. How you doing, Casey?
Doing all right, gentlemen. How we doing?
Good.
Doing good. Excited to have you on. Been thinking about this for the last couple days. Got a lot to talk about since the teams came together in Windsor.
Well, appreciate you guys having me on. Nick, I think you have more scarves than I do somehow.
You got to up your game.
I do.
Well, I'm glad we're finally doing this after now we're entering our third season. And last season was so special here, but just want to go ahead and give a little background to our viewers, our listeners, exactly who you are, Casey, the executive director of Future Legends Complex, co-owner of Northern Colorado Hailstorm FC and Northern Colorado Owls, and NoCo Rain FC or not? And NoCo Rain FC. That's exciting. So,
and the Grand Junction Jackalopes. There you
go.
Wow. A man of many trades.
Co-owner of a lot of things. That's 4 different Future Legend Complex teams. But as the executive director at Future Legends Complex and co-owner of multiple teams, can you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Of course. And first of all, appreciate you guys having me on. I was telling you guys a little bit beforehand. I try and listen every now and then. I like to hear what you guys got going on. And you both have been huge supporters to us for the last couple of years. And so we very much appreciate it. Our staff very much appreciates it. And we'll go through a couple of your predictions too later. So I've been here in this role for about 5 years now. We brought the Orem Owls to Northern Colorado to become a Northern Colorado Owls as a part of the Future Legends Complex, which has been a passion project of ours for a very long time. One of the biggest sports complexes in the country. We landed on Windsor, just outside of Fort Collins, where I live, being one of the better places for a complex like this to be. And then shortly after we found the location in 2018, we got the rights to have an expansion USL League One soccer team, as you guys know.
Yeah.
Came up with the Hailstorm brand, and the rest was kind of history. And so on top of that, we always wanted to have a women's team, which we've hinted at for a long time. We're finally able to do it, which I know we'll talk a little bit more about as well. But I've been running this complex now for a little more than 4.5, almost 5 years. Our team went from just me, my father and Ryan Spielborg, our co-founder, to almost 200 people. So growing like crazy.
Yeah.
I have fingers without jewelry on them, so I'd like to add to that from a champion perspective.
As a growing up in Colorado as a lifelong Rockies fan, it's awesome to see Ryan Spielborg as a part of the program for all the teams. Loved watching him just play ball back when I was a kid.
He's the best, man. We actually have the same birthday too.
Wow.
So small world type of thing.
Pop champagne together. So before you were gone into the Hailstorm project, we were wondering if you had any prior experience with soccer at all.
So it's a great question. And the honest answer was previous to this, it was mostly baseball. Baseball, basketball, football a little bit as well. Running different types of businesses on the sports side and the corporate side. Soccer was always something that we knew if we found the right location that we'd love to dive into it. We've always been fans. I mean, there's no secret. But the honest answer is no. We hadn't dabbled too much in soccer previous to this complex, but we've always been passionate about being able to try and get into it.
Awesome.
Did you have a favorite player growing up?
I always like Landon Donovan. That's kind of a cop-out answer.
Oh, that's a fair answer.
Yeah, it's a good one. He
But,
still
I mean,
makes the, I think, U.S. all-time 11, at least mine.
I did also like Freddie Adu a lot as well, which is kind of, I guess, kind of a polarizing answer as well. But I just like the story if he was doing something different. I like those polarizing players. So those are the guys I looked up to. But I like women's soccer a lot growing up. I went to Santa Clara undergrad, and Brandy Chastain was, a huge idol for a lot of my friends, and she's still involved with campus. Leslie Osborne, those type of people too. So a lot more on the women's side than the men's side, ironically.
Since you own different teams, I was just wondering if like the culture of soccer is different or similar to the other sports you've owned / have been a part of.
Yeah.
It's different for sure. I mean, you guys probably know as well. It's different in some elements, and in other elements, it's not. I mean, we are a baseball family. We have been our entire lives. The same element of we want to win. We're very competitive. I think has some similarities, and that's why we get along with our coaching staff, and I think our community as well. But there are things that are so different, whether it's the way that you act, the type of personalities that we have. I mean, baseball personalities are very different than soccer personalities. Being a baseball player myself, I can admit that as well. Definitely from a hygiene standpoint as well, for sure. We definitely have some similarities, but it's been a little bit of a transition of learning how to make sure that we have a little bit better communication internally and externally to get on the soccer side from the baseball side as well.
Well, I just wanted to know, going into your third season, being a co-owner and a supporter of Hailstorm, what are some things you're learning throughout the way? I say supporter because out of all the matches that we've been to, we've seen you there. We've seen you cheer on the team wearing different merch. I've seen you pace back and forth during some of the more intense games. So, just as a supporter, as an owner, what are some things you've learned being in USL League One?
Yeah, I mean, I can only speak for myself.
Sure.
I'm definitely more of a hands-on owner when it comes to the game itself, but I'm much more hands-off in the actual decisions on the field. I mean, yes, I'm a part of the conversations. Eamon and I have an incredible relationship together. Eamon's essentially a brother to me, and so we fight a lot. We also care a lot about each other, and so we have a good relationship. And I think that helps. I try and make sure that we have the best foot forward with the mentality of our goal is to win. Our goal is to make sure that we're building this community as much as we can. They've never had soccer before. I mean, I know you guys obviously have been in this community for a while, but they've never had this level of soccer, especially up here in Northern Colorado before. And so we're trying to take our previous mindset of being baseball focused, winning multiple championships over a long period of time, was saying our goal is to win in a place that I think deserves winners. And so I definitely am very competitive. You see me on the field for sure, pacing back and forth, trying my best not to yell at our players. But we also care a ton. Like we're definitely more of I would say the Steve Ballmer, Mark Cuban type of owners than the owners that you never see. We just like it that way. We like to be more involved. We like to say hi to our fans, some of our partners, etc. So I'm always more on that side.
Yeah, that matters a lot.
Yeah, and as a fan, we totally appreciate that more than I'm sure Rico could attest to this being like Rapids media, but knowing that Rapids ownership is not totally involved in the team because they have other teams elsewhere, and then just seeing you there passionately supporting the team just also like inspires us because we also believe in this team, and it just seems like that community is together. So as a supporter, we appreciate that.
I mean, this is what drives us as well, is that we've been through so much over the first 2 years. I mean, you guys know it better than anybody. Multiple different stadiums, every type of weather delay, literally and figuratively, different players in different situations, obviously, semi-tragedies as well. And just to see how our last season has ended, we've never been in a better position than we are right now. So it makes the romantic aspect of sports that we love so much that much better, that much more driving to accomplish the things that we want to accomplish.
I don't know.
Some things for 2024 and beyond.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to create more of a rhythm from an organizational standpoint of what our structure is, what the voice that we want to have, the style of play we want to have. Your first year, you go into it somewhat blind of, hey, let's get the players that we want and join this league the best way that we can. And I mean, I know Nick knows this very well, and I'm sure you do too, Rico. You jump in your first 2 of your 4 games, you're playing switchbacks and you are RSL. And so you reach the pinnacle in your first 4 games that you didn't necessarily expect. So you're almost trying to take the first year of a learning experience, and we were, a fluke away from not being in the postseason. And then you say next year, we're going to keep a lot of our core players that we're really passionate about, get some of the key acquisitions that we wanted anyways, see how they play. And our goals were pretty reasonable. I mean, our goal is always to win a championship, but I go to Eamon and I say, here's what our goals need to be this year. And I say our goal needs to be making the playoffs. And on top of that, I like to host a playoff game, especially being on site for the first time. And so now that we've done that and we were a game away from a championship, it's like, okay, how do we prove that that's not a fluke, that we are to be reckoned with in this league here on out? Taking the same key players that you guys have seen, the 11 that we've announced so far, key core players that we know and love, are big in this community, are big factors in us winning. And then how do we add to that same type of culture that we're not just, hey, every now and then we make the playoffs, but we're consistent juggernauts every year. That's what we've taken into this offseason.
Yeah, that's some great insight there. You mentioned meeting a goal of yours between you and Coach Amon was having and hosting a playoff game. How did it feel meeting that, now being able to go and host a playoff game at Future Legends Complex, but also winning and seeing a hat trick by our Golden Boot winner, Trevor, before now he's off to the USL Championship? But how did that feel, just emotion-wise?
That was probably the culmination of all the work that we've done in the last 2 years into one moment. I know it's easy to say that Rob's goal against RSL is our best moment. I know you guys were talking about that last podcast, and I do listen, I promise. That's probably the best moment. I agree with that. But from an overall summary of our hard work to get to a moment, that was my favorite moment thus far, was our playoff game. That was our biggest crowd by far. Our weather was great. We played awesome. You got to see the stats. You got to see kind of everything come together. And that was probably the most motivational game that we've had, at least at home. Trev played out of his mind. Our defense was incredible. And Madison's a heck of a team.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We've had some good success against them this year, but previously we hadn't beaten them. So it was nice to see us kind of bring everything together to have the one match that we wanted. I know the next match after that wasn't what we wanted, but at least we got the home crowd into it. I know you guys obviously were watching it, but that was pretty sweet. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, that was awesome watching Trevor, just a kid I used to play soccer with on the same team, soccer against. Just watching him succeed now and going on to Sacramento is just a good story from a Colorado lad. We were wondering, with the losing 2 players, important players such as Trevor and Arthur, we were just curious on how those negotiations with the championship went. Were there a handful of teams that were interested in both players?
Yeah, I mean, it's no secret. I mean, you look at those 2 guys who I'm sure you guys would agree with, or in my opinion, the 2 best players in the league, if not at worst, 2 of the top 5 best players in the league. And so it's a weird mindset where you're almost similar to a good college football team, where the better that you are and the better that your players are, the less likely they are to stay. And so we always told ourselves, would we rather finish in last place and have them have terrible seasons and then they stay? No, we want to have our players grow into what they want to accomplish. I mean, Trev's 25, Artie's 26, I want to say. So they still have a lot more in their career. Everybody wanted both of them. It's no secret. And so we also want to make it transparent. We would have loved to have them back. We made the offers that we could. We try to do the best type of package that we could as well. But Trev gets to go play for arguably the best championship league team. And Artie gets to go back to an organization that I think he's going to help them regrow to what he wants them to be. So we wish them nothing but the best. They're both incredible guys. I have a great relationship with both of them. They both work their butts off, great in this community. We're going to be watching from afar. And for whatever it's worth, does it show that, hey, we can show that our talent can move to the next level? Of course. I mean, from an ownership perspective, we want to show our players that come in here, there are things that can be bigger and better depending on what you define that as, after, if you have success here as well. I think that makes us more of an ideal target for some of these free agents, which I think helped us this offseason as well, wink, wink. But we wish them nothing but the best. I mean, you look at Rob as well. That's a different situation. Rob had been there for so long in Ireland. He came in, was our captain, huge piece for us. He's back home. That's where he wanted to be. We respect that. We want to wish him the best of luck as well. We've lost a couple other people as well too. But with Trev and Arthur, I mean, they're incredible talents, and I don't think their momentum is going to slow down anytime soon.
But being able to go ahead and retain 11 players so far this year, and some of them are quality players that can easily go ahead and be first team all league. I mean, I'm talking players like Billy King, Bruno Rendon, even Jackson Dietrich. So I think being able, like you mentioned earlier in our video, just being able to retain a strong core to go ahead and build off of next year and then bring in those key additions is really crucial in having a really good season and pushing for playoffs. So, I mean, can't be too upset that our two best players are leaving, but that leaves room for other players to go ahead and step up and be the best players. But
since we're in a position of being in a third division, I was just curious to if the Hailstorm in the future has aspirations, in the league has aspirations for potential movement up to the championship.
Valid questions, and I'll give you as honest of an answer as I can. Hailstorm side, the door is definitely not closed. Is it something that we've thought about for sure? We want to establish what our team is first and establish to this community that we have a soccer team. So that was always our priority. And we always felt that League One was a better way for us to do that than Championship League. I do think that there are aspirations that we have for this team, whether that's Championship League, whether there's some sort of promotion relegation. I know it's a hot topic for you guys as well. So the door is always going to be ajar. Right now, we're comfortable with the situation that we're in, but that doesn't mean that we aren't looking for what the future holds, is what I will tell you guys.
Any insight on the development of Ticket Socket Park can you share with us today?
Yeah, absolutely. The complex so far is going well. The weather doesn't really help us. There was 30-mile-per-hour winds today. That kind of stunk.
Right.
What we deal with, and you guys understand this well, I want things to be done ASAP. I want things to be done yesterday. It took us 2 years even to just get our secondary stadium done. And so our stadium is on track, but things happen that we just can't predict, whether it's labor shortages, weather, you name it. And so we're on track for our stadium to be open. Can I guarantee it? No, of course not. But the plan is that we're playing in our big stadium this year. We were supposed to play in it last year. And so that's the plan as of now. There's a lot of pre-work that is now done that allows us to then have a lot of the visuals that you want to see in a stadium, whether it's the seats, the scoreboard, the turf, to be done soon. The good news is if for whatever reason, if the world decides to throw us another curveball for the 4th straight year, we at least have a stadium on site that we're used to playing in, that the players are used to playing in, that if we need to transition 2 weeks into the season, 3 weeks into the season, we can. But the goal is that opening day, we are in Ticket Socket Park.
So some of that planning that goes to make sure that maybe we can get a chance to play in there. Does that come from NoCo reaching out to the league and asking to play at their first home game of the season a few games into the season, or is that something the league decides?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, the league has their expectations of what they want out of us. I mean, I know you guys have looked at our schedule. Like we have a good relationship with a lot of the teams in our league that we're always going to have to start later at home based on the weather that we have. I mean, last year we got so many snowstorms in March and April, we would have had to cancel most of our games anyways. Right. And so if you look at our schedule last year, we tried to do the same thing this year. Our best attended games, our best weather games, and best performed games were all in September and October. And so we said, all right, why would we not want to get our best situation as much as possible? So this year, I think we have 7 games in September and October at home, which we prefer. Yes, we don't want to start on the road for 6 games, but even if our stadium was completely done, you're at best starting in the beginning of May, maybe right. End of April. And so, yes, this year is a little bit later, but going forward, it's always going to be a problem. Madison has the same problem. Spokane's going to have the same problem. If we can, since we're a back half team, I mean, our first season in 2022, if we had the second half as both halves, we would have been a top 3 team. But we started off slow, and then we finished in the second half. So if we're going to always be a second half team, I'd rather really push the second half for strong, good weathered home games, whether we're in our stadium or not. And so we'd like to start a little bit earlier, if that makes sense. I don't want to wait until the end of May every year to have our opening day. But if that gives us a better second half and to go into the playoffs hot, there are some pros to it as well.
I mean, NoCo has also showed in the last 2 years that even though they start games in the season away from home, they're not scared or playing poorly away from home. They're grabbing 1-point results as much as they can at worst case scenarios.
Absolutely. I think we've seen the best of both through the first 2 seasons.
We've spoken with other guys throughout the league, and Hailstorm is not a team when in the first half of the season that you're hosting. It's not an easy team to go ahead and go through. They're going to go ahead and push you for 90 minutes, even try to grab that point away from home. So,
yeah, it kind of throws us in the fire a little bit every season. If you got to start with some heavy games on the road, you get to in the thick of it pretty quickly. If you can handle that, I mean, you're pretty much set, for these bigger games for the rest of the season. If you kind of know what to expect, you're ready to get up for those games. I mean, last year our schedule was brutal the first couple of games of the season, and we performed relatively well. So we're like, okay, when we come back home, now we got all the momentum in the world, and we had a great first couple months of the season. Our struggle was in kind of that August time frame where we almost got too comfortable. It felt like, so learning from that as well.
Absolutely, and you saw it this whole year. If this was any other USL League One year with this Hailstorm squad, they'd probably walk away with the shield. But there was 2 other competitive sides that also had championship caliber teams that the USL just hasn't been used to having having 3 teams at that high of a level all at the same time in 1 year. So we saw a championship squad last year, but there happened to be 2 other championship caliber squads. So it was still such a fun watch getting 3rd, and it was a marginal points.
Still so historic. This year, a new competition is coming to the league, USL League One Cup. And you talk about wanting to go ahead and feel your fingers with some rings. I just want to see how important, are we being very ambitious towards this competition? Is this something we're taking seriously to bring our first silverware to Future Legends Complex?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know it's been a worry from some of the fans or from some of the supporters how serious we will take this cup. We were in favor of the cup. We voted for it. We've been public with that. We wanted to be able to promote different types of competition in this league, think for ourselves a little bit, and try and test out kind of what we can do that separates us from other leagues, and to not be super dependent on what the championship league wants us to do. And so if this allows us to do something different, I'm all for it. And you want to talk about the baseball mindset, we want to make sure there's a winner and a loser, or at least you're benefiting, from the PK mindset. Not everybody likes it. I like the ability to have a little bit more of an offensive side, but we're taking it seriously, man. We want that. We want that hardware. It's still competition at the end of the day.
Of course.
So we'll take it seriously. Is it an opportunity to maybe play some extra guys? Sure. We'll see how that goes. But Eamon's not taking those days off. I can promise that.
Yeah, that's something that I think I don't want to say predicted, but I just had a feeling that both you and Coach were, really attacking minded, really putting a lot of emphasis and wanted to go ahead and bring some kind of silverware back to the club. And I'm excited to see this season. And hopefully in our 3rd year, we can go ahead and be crowned champions of something. If we can go ahead and do the treble, it's going to be the most historic thing I've ever seen. Probably better than Leicester 2016.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
We're in the West region, as west as you can possibly make the USL League One. We know you guys still have big travel. We were just curious on a few questions. We were just wondering, how did you guys decide on? First one is, how did you guys decide on the most goals rule for the 4th seed of the playoffs? Like, what was the thinking behind that?
Yeah, it's mainly to just try and get a little bit more excitement on the attacking side. It's exactly what you guys assume. It's something to try. I mean, it's going to be polarizing. Not everyone's going to like it. And then is there the scenario of the 4th team losing 4 games, but losing every game 7-5? I guess we're trying to just promote a little bit more of aggressiveness that, teams are. And if it's a 1-0 game, you're not sitting back playing defense the entire time. You're trying to attack a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So we've never done it before, so let's try and see how it goes. We want to get the fans a little bit more involved as well. The fans would rather have a 5-4 game than a 1-0 game. And so how do you combine what the fans want, and also we want to win the game at the same time? So it's worth a try. There isn't so much involved with it that there was this master plan that we've had for so long. It's just something that we wanted to try. And I supported that. It wasn't necessarily my idea, but I supported the idea of trying something.
You brought up the fans, and I'm curious to know if you guys started, if you could share any insights, started on planning on how you guys are going to go ahead and promote these types of games, maybe educate the fans on like, hey, this game, if it goes into a tie, it's going to PKs. You guys already started planning. I know you guys have a great social media marketing team online, so just curious if there's any insight there.
Yeah, the education piece is probably the most important. I mean, it's confusing. I mean, I'm confused sometimes as well, man. I mean, it's confusing to play a team in one way and then 2 weeks later playing them with different rules. And so the education piece, our marketing team is awesome. We're super lucky to have the team that we have. They make me look good all the time. And so it's education is a big part of what we want to do, whether it's during the game, through our video board, whether it's before the game explaining a little bit. It's going to take some time, a couple of different events to happen for people to get used to it. And if this is, a 1 or 2 year thing, then we don't want to go all out educating on this side forever. And then if something changes, then you have to explain something later. So it's going to be a work in progress for sure. But our fans are pretty smart, so they get things pretty quickly.
Since we read the press release, if the USL Championship will try to be involved next year, if this is a big fun success this season?
We would love for them to be involved. I mean, if they would like to be involved, I think it makes some sense. They have their own opinions of this type of cup, and I think collaboration going forward. And as I said earlier, and as I said to Rich and Brian a couple weeks ago, we're trying to do our own thing, that we're not dependent of any other league, because otherwise then it almost seems like we're reliant on what their decision is to make our league successful. And so, yeah, it's no secret. I mean, I'd love to be able to play the Switchbacks more than just the Open Cup, especially if we keep beating them. No offense to them. But I'd love to be able to build that rivalry, right? I'd love to be able to play New Mexico and Vegas and Sacramento and Oakland and some of these other teams on the West Coast to build those storylines. But part of it's up to them, how much they want to be involved. And if not, then we're going to try and do our own thing.
You just mentioned the U.S. Open Cup, and you don't have to get too into detail or too deep into this, but I'm sure it came to you as a shock when you found out MLS wanted to go ahead and back out of the competition and send in its MLS Next Pro teams.
I'll do my best to plead the fifth on this topic. I will say, obviously, it's no secret. We love for them to be involved. We've been able to play in 2 years. We've played 2 MLS teams, and they've been awesome. We've been competitive in both games. One we've won, one we at least were competitive in. So, yeah, of course I want them to be involved, but they need to figure out a lot of stuff right now.
I just want to know if you can expand on anything about the USL Academy team Hailstorm plans on dropping this spring.
Yes, great question. So we were very fortunate to bring in Kevin Ireland to be our academy lead. Extremely talented guy. I talk to him every single day. And obviously Jason Ficker, who's our GM, is involved as well. We have some high aspirations. We introduced our Winter Academy about 5 or 6 weeks ago, expecting about 100 kids, maybe 150, and we got 340.
Nice.
We're super excited about that. The next step is the elite side that I think makes us more competitive, and the USL Academy side. But the main thing is, how do we expand on being more inclusive for kids in this area that are trying to play soccer? There's a huge demand in this area. It's growing super fast. And just seeing the demand that we have that want to wear our crests, it's been a great start. So expect that next leap from kind of the community value, recreational, intermediate side, more towards the elite side coming very soon.
Awesome. Yeah, because we would just love, just because I followed the USL around the championship and the one all the time. People call me, just a soccer freak or something, but soccer sicko. But yeah, we just want to see those stories potentially in NoCo of academy signings from the academy team to the first team within the season or beginning of the season, however, just to show, those local Colorado kids that there is a nice chance to go up, that even like if they can't possibly even afford their own club's teams, they can give Hailstorm a shot, try to show off their talent, and potentially make the first team.
100%. I mean, we don't turn a blind eye to local talent as well. I mean, you look at the obvious all the way down to maybe the little less obvious. I mean, you played with Trav, But outside of Trev, I mean, Deston scored what we thought was our playoff going goal our first season. He's a Fort Collins kid. McCain is a local kid as well. There's a lot of talent in the state, and I feel like it's been somewhat untapped over the last couple of years. That if the academy allows us not only to build just youth in general, but local talent, local regional talent, I think we would be foolish to not do so.
Soon. So we just wanted to know if you got any hints on or any scoops for us for this 2024 roster.
You can even just throw a country. We'll do the research.
We'll do the research ourselves.
You guys do so much research, man. If I give you any hint at all, I mean, hell yeah outlet that you guys do. You guys have more information than I do. I don't know where you're getting it from, but I'll turn on notifications every now and then. I'm like, how do they know this? Where are they getting this information from?
Nick had an Excel sheet of stats before a full roster the first season came out. He was already ready to go.
Bro, I gotta get you a desk.
That's what I'm saying. If you have a job, I'll take it.
I'll tell you this because I wanted to make sure because Blake and Jordan on our marketing team, I don't know if you guys have talked to them. They're awesome at what they do. They plan out every announcement to a T. They work super hard on all the videos and everything. And I don't want to ruin any of the surprise for them. I will tell you two teasers that I think will make you both happy. You talked about Nick. I believe last podcast, which I do listen to on my way to work, which is better than getting yelled at by the community every now and then. You get my joke. You said that Billy was your favorite signing, and we have high aspirations for Billy this year. We think he's an MVP candidate for sure.
Yeah,
we got somebody coming up very soon that I think will then be your new favorite. Knowing you a little bit, I would say take that with a grain of salt.
Awesome. Very nice.
And then on top of that, and that's someone that is a relatively familiar face that has MVP caliber consideration this year. I can promise you that. Sweet. The second one that I will tease, we got some big free agent signings. I would say if we're anything outside of the top 3 in your predictions this year, I would be surprised.
Well, that's really reassuring actually to hear.
Good. We'll make another video after the whole roster's announced. We can update our preseason rankings. We'll have a better idea by then.
Yeah, we already know the kind of players that we have returning, and then we're excited to go ahead and see the type of caliber we're bringing in. And as you mentioned, if some free agents, I guess we'll go ahead and do our research on them. Really exciting. And
I will tell you this, Rico. Sometimes if you can't beat them, you might as well join them. That's what I would say.
I don't want to shout any names here, man. I'm gonna edit this part out. But when we're done recording, and you're God, Casey, I'm gonna shout at Nick who I think it is.
You might know, you might not. I gave you very little, but that's all I'll say. And sometimes when you have good talent and you can't beat them, sometimes they got to join you.
Perfect.
Take that what you will.
We'll do a little research with that, but I think that will go ahead and honestly end it for all of the questions that we had today. We are super thankful for you to join us here today. This has been a very special in-person episode for Nick and I, and we are so glad that we got to do it with you. It was due. This episode was due coming, and you gave us so much insight, not only about yourself, but just the passion and the project that is Future Legends Complex and Northern Colorado Hailstorm FC, the Rain as well, the Owls. So we want to go ahead and say a big thank you so much for joining us here today, Casey.
I couldn't appreciate you guys more. I'll finish with this last sentimental summary for you guys. Both you guys and the rest of your team are so valued from our side. The work you put in, the support you give us, the scarves in the background, the swag you wear, it does not go unnoticed. I promise you that. We appreciate you guys a ton. You're part of the reason why we love what we do is for people like yourselves that are fans at the end of the day, but are trying to support what we do. There are always things that we can do better as an ownership group. There are things that I can do better as the leader. But at the end of the day, I'm a fan as well. I like seeing other people that enjoy what we're doing, that we can join together. And so please don't stop what you're doing. It does not go unnoticed. My whole staff watches everything that you guys do. We appreciate you guys to the fullest.
Well, we appreciate all of them.
Yeah, we appreciate you bringing soccer to Northern Colorado.
Yeah, honestly.
100%, man. Let's go get a ring this year, shall we?
Absolutely.
Before I go ahead and let you go, one question here from our Storm Chasers supporters group. They want to know what your favorite food and drink combo at Future Legend Complex is.
Oh, our taco combos are incredible, man. Well, our Biker Jim's hot dogs are incredible. I don't know if you guys have had your Biker Jim's hot dogs. They're
I've had them all.
unbelievable.
I like
We got
that.
some things. We got some
Taki
things
hot
going
dog.
this year.
You guys did the little Taki hot dog. I think it was the Hail Yeah hot dog. Where they
The
put
Hell Yeah dog.
the queso.
I've had that one quite a bit of times.
Though those things are gonna make me 800 pounds. The wife is not gonna be happy about that.
Well, again, thank you so much for joining us here, Casey. This has been Riccardo and Nick with Linners and Wosers. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.